human intelligence and the analogy of the ant in the circuit board. So I think I got this from a Bloodboard video, I think, about Eldritch Horror. Eldritch Horror? Jesus. But it's that concept that, the ant's scrolling around on a computer, it's found its way into a PC. And it's taking in its surroundings, however ants do that. And for like a split second, it realizes that it's sitting on this, building-sized thing that is, for a second, its comprehension is like, I get it. This is a machine. And then after that singular moment of realization, it goes right back to, its standard level of comprehension about its surroundings. All of its other instincts kick in and stuff like that. But the ant never stays the same. The ant has changed and it can't go back. It's an analogy that's used to explain how some people they get a nick of something, a whiff, like an idea that just pops past their head for, one walk. And they just can't let go of it their whole lives. They go insane. It's used for Eldritch Horror because an Eldritch Horror character might walk into some sort of cultisty room and not really get why it's all like, the game Scorn? You walk into a room like that and you sort of, you look around and it's like, none of this makes sense. And then for a second you're like, oh. And you go right back to just survival mode. But you never unsee it, right? You never unsee the mental image of what this could be, what it could mean. Especially when you get it, I think there is a certain truth to seeing the truth. So once you see the truth, it's hard to unsee it because everything will point in the direction of the truth because it's the truth. It's the one thing that just keeps nagging you because it's right. Like whenever you apply a thought process that is valid, you're going to come to the same conclusion. Now, what has this got to do with human intelligence? Well, boys and girls who like thinking, I got a real surprise for you here. Here, have an incognito hazard. The idea that I've had with human intelligence being related to this, I think all the time, it's a blessing and a curse, but I think all the time, and you start scraping up against these boundaries. And I'll use another analogy because I think analogy is the best way to do this to sort of, bypass that lateral thinking barrier. They're really useful. It's like playing Portal, the original, right? You play it for the first playthrough and everything's a solid experience. You don't really look past things too much. Let's say you start playing the game again, maybe a few years later. And you keep looking around, you find little secrets maybe, the little secret room with the insane guy, all this stuff. And then you play through it one more time. And at this point, you've probably spent like 10 extra hours in the world. You start noticing things. Little details, little repeats, how a window is spaced exactly 2 meters or 2 blocks from a wall always. Or how, if you look off in the distance, it's always the same gray texture all the way at the back. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know this about Portal. I got mental imagery. I'm just going off that. Basically, you spend enough time in a video game, and you start seeing how the developers made it. And even if when you're a child and you don't really understand what a development process for a game is, you just start noticing things like, huh. And when you're a kid and you don't know how like games are made, you don't immediately think this was intentional. You think, I'm noticing a pattern. Your brain just goes, I'm noticing a pattern here. And what that starts doing is it starts sort of kicking into your paranoia drive. You're like, huh. I remember I used to explore the oceans of Just Cause 3 a lot. And it was really scary because you can only move at like a snail's pace. The only way to get deeper would be to sink in a vehicle or like drive a jet into the ground, into the water. Around the time that the Sky DLC came out, sorry, this is a bit of a tangent, people who don't play Just Cause 3, or didn't play Just Cause 3 as a kid. when the Sky DLC came out, the wingsuit became a underwater propulsion thing, so you can like move underwater really quick. So water exploration became a lot more interesting. And there are probably people who have similar experiences exploring oceans in video games generally. And you'll start maybe getting what I mean when I say the recurring patterns. You do that trick where you go up to the surface and you angle the third-person camera just right, and you can, for a split second, you see everything. And that's not quite what I'm getting at with the whole ant and the circuit board thing. But it's more like that paired with manual exploration, that feeling. Not only is it a hostile environment, but you just start noticing that things repeat, and like they go down in a certain way, and you notice that that just goes down forever. Same thing happened in Sea of Thieves for me. You explore these bottoms of these oceans, and it's like, I don't know, it's just some sort of, it's the eldritch, the greater than thee, combined with noticing things. Anyway, what's my point with human intelligence? My point with human intelligence is when you think a lot, you start scraping up against these boundaries. You start, first step is realizing patterns. You get taught by therapy people and, general mental health stuff. You should notice your patterns and you should try and address them. And it's good advice. But you start applying that to everything. Noticing the patterns everywhere. And before long, at least for me, before long, maybe give it a few years, you start going, this escaped my knowledge 3 times. Like, I knew about this, I went out into the world, I made the same mistake 3 times. Okay, that's just a habitual thing, that's fine. You think about it, and then you sort of, I'm trying to find the words. You realize that thinking about it isn't helping. You realize that your intelligence, whatever level it is, when you were born and as you've cultivated it throughout your life, you realize that you can't just figure this out. In the same way that someone who's like an amateur painter looks at a landscape and he starts painting it and he realizes, I'm not going to be able to capture this. In the same way that your camera on your phone has a certain capability, and like people constantly say, you can take a photo of something, but sometimes it just doesn't capture the essence of how it looked and felt in real life. Like it just doesn't do it justice. You're trying to take a photo of the moon, it just doesn't do it justice. And realizing that about your own brain, that my brain doesn't do some things justice, that I'm limited. And it's a scary idea. Maybe just because I'm someone who thinks a lot and like prides myself on that as like a tool that I use to move through the world. But I don't know, I feel like that should be scary to most people. Like, just looking in the mirror and realizing you have limits that you don't have command over. There is nothing you can do about it. Maybe I'm just too hopeful and I'm all like, constantly trying to improve my life in the minute ways that you can. Mental habits, physical habits, goals, aspirations, all that kind of thing. Realizing that, like, you can train your brain to do maths. You can train your brain to think laterally. You can train your brain to not react a certain way that you always used to when confronted with a similar stimulus to your past. But you can't train, I'm trying to really hone on this, you can't train your brain to perceive the difference between action and consequence, and I just want to say nothing here. Between action and consequence, and what you perceive action and consequence to be, which it's a bit of a nothing statement. It doesn't. I hope you're getting what I mean. But the point with the ant and the circuit board here was sometimes it all just clicks. And for a moment or an afternoon, you see the circuit board. You're not just standing on a weird bunch of lumps and green polymer material and metal. You get it. You get it for a split second. You just understand it. and maybe this has only happened to me once or twice in my life, but you see reality for what it is. Your comprehension, for whatever reason, in that very moment, the system that is your brain just works on overclock for a minute. And you see everything. And the thing with the circuit board, the ant has like a sieve-sized brain. The fact that it's even able to get a sense for this is chance. It's just chance. It's complete chance. It's like, the chance that this ant was like well fed or something, and there's the chance of like the habits it's learned throughout its life, and then somehow, some way, that's just resulted in a unique output at a unique time in a unique place, and then the ant's just like, And the reason it ties back into the Eldritch and Bloodborne and all those weird things is because it drives you mad. It makes you crazy. That's a huge theme in Bloodborne is, the inward-looking eyes, and like how seeing the truth makes you go mad because the world around you doesn't see it. You become an outsider. You not only become an outsider, but you turn yourself into an outsider. Horrifying. It's horrifying because you did it to yourself, and you don't necessarily blame yourself. You blame the world, right? You blame the world for not coming to the same conclusions. Because if it is the truth you're seeing, it actually is the world's fault. They're not, they're too stupid to see. They're not willing to see. They're not willing to put in the effort to see. So you feel at the same time isolated and like an idiot in a way, like a fool. Like you feel like an idiot, right, and a fool all at the same time. Because you're right, but it doesn't do you any good. It doesn't help to be right. In the same way that it doesn't help to delay gratification indefinitely, as some people do. It doesn't help to, in the same way that it doesn't help to, constantly want to be right in an argument, which is something that people who do introspection is, that's like rule number one. You realize, arguing is stupid because we're not getting anywhere. And it's like you've just dug yourself into a perception hole where the act of pursuing the truth, which is how you conquer the first problem of always wanting to win arguments. Now your perception and your want to pursue the truth has caused you the exact same result you were avoiding in the beginning, which is you end up isolated and mad and obsessed with something that no one else sees. So yeah. Ants, circuit boards, Just Cause 3, and human intelligence.